Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I will be providing my spoiler-free book review of The Fallen Star by Claudia Gray. This is the third and final novel in the first wave of the High Repiublic series. This was released in January of 2022, and I have read it and will provide my thoughts. So, I haven't reviewed the first two books in the series on the channel, so I'll give a brief reaction to them. I absolutely loved Light of the Jedi. It is one of my favorite Star Wars novels, and I absolutely loved The Rising Storm. It is also one of my favorite Star Wars novels. I thought that Light of the Jedi was a really good disaster novel, and that Charles Soule just built dread and anticipation so well in his book. At the same time, I thought that The Rising Storm by Cavan Scott did an excellent job of providing tension with political and with military spy thriller vibes, and both books were just excellently written and executed. And The Fallen Star is much more, it has a bit of the disaster element to it, but it's not, but it's much more like a produced disaster. And I would say that this reads more like a monster horror novel than it does the other genres that have been done so far. And currently, it is my least favorite of the three, but I still highly enjoyed it. So this book takes place almost entirely on Starlight Beacon, whereas the other two books were really planet-hopping, big epic in scope. And that's why I think that this book kind of is a bit lacking, is that people are used, in the adult novels, they're used to huge scope. And so when you have a book that kind of decreases the scope a little bit, this still has a huge cast of characters, tons of POVs, tons of jumping back and forth within a chapter, which I didn't like, but it worked. It still feels smaller because you're all in the same place. And so the expectations were set high, and it was just impossible based off what Claudia wanted to write for her to meet those expectations. The other thing was, it was let slip in the marketing of this book that not only was Starlight Beacon going to be destroyed, but also that there was going to be a ton of character deaths. And while this is good for marketing in that it gets people interested in the book, I think that they really hampered the enjoyment of the book, because finding out that Starlight Beacon was destroyed would have worked incredibly well had the reader gone in completely blind. And so it builds really nicely, and you don't know how it's going to happen. You just know it's going to happen, and you're a bit more worried, but because you know, it takes away the anticipation of it. At the same time, there's a lot of character deaths in this, and some of them hit, and I was a bit emotional with them. There were two in particular. One really worked, and I was torn. I was mad that this person died. The other person, I was disappointed that they died, but mostly I was disappointed that they didn't handle it better. The rest of the characters, I didn't feel that their deaths were earned, and I didn't feel that I connected with them enough in their deaths. I think that we should have seen them die as opposed to find out that they've died. That was the biggest problem with this book. It was a show, don't tell situation with this book. Another thing about this book that is interesting is its pacing. It is a super fast-paced book. It goes by really quickly. It is the shortest of the three adult novels by a pretty wide margin. The difference between the shortest book and the longest book is over 100 pages, and you feel that in this book. You feel it go by pretty quick, which makes it for a quick read, which is nice. But at the same time, you want big epic scope. You really want to dive into these characters. Speaking of characters, the standout of this book, who is always the standout for me, is Bel Zettifar. I think that Bel is a fantastic character. I really enjoy reading his perspective, and he has become my favorite point of view character in the High Repiublic so far. I think that he was handled well here, and I think that in Phase 3, when we go back to this plotline, or when I assume we'll go back to this plotline, the authors really need to do a few things with his character, because they've explored this aspect of his character as an apprentice enough. They need to go in another direction. Another character that really worked in this book for me also was Elzar Mann. Elzar has really become the Anakin Skywalker of the High Republic era, and while I haven't particularly loved him in the previous books, I thought that he worked really well here. His emotion and his connection to the other characters was really palpable, and I really appreciated that. And so his character worked really well for me. One of the characters that didn't work well for me in this book was Stellan Geos, and I thought that Stellan was pretty well portrayed in The Rising Storm and in some of the tertiary material he's been in. But my biggest problem with Stellan Geos is that he hasn't felt like an emotive character. He's felt very stoic, and like the authors don't want to delve into his psyche enough. And I feel like that's a bit lacking, and in this book it was also a bit lacking. Also in this book, you have the return of the crew from the vessel. You have Afi Hollow, you have Leox Jayasi, I think that's how you pronounce it, I don't know. And then you also have Geode. I know that this is controversial, but I found Geode hilarious. Now, I wish that they would change a little aspect of his character so he's not literally just a rock. I wish he was more like Taika Waititi's character from Thor Ragnarok, where he's a rock, but he's kind of like a humanoid rock. It would make it easier for audiences to understand where Claudia is going with this. Instead, a lot of people are put off that she just made a literal rock character. And I still found a lot of his scenes hilarious, and there was one setup that worked in the beginning of the book that she pays off with Geode at the end of the book that was really well done. I didn't get to put this in my Goodreads review, but that was a really well done payoff, a setup and payoff, which was another issue with this book, is they present a few things in this book that I can't get into spoiler-wise, that particularly with the villain, Martian Rowe, that they set up, this is going to happen. It's going to be big. Okay, here it comes. Oh, it's not that big. You already knew this if you were paying close attention. And I was just like, really? I that's not where I wanted this to go, and you were setting up something big and it wasn't big. That was very frustrating for me. So my biggest thing with this book is it's overall highly entertaining, really enjoyable read, and really well done, but I'm used to such high quality from the first two adult novels in the series, and honestly, a much higher quality from Claudia Gray. I love Claudia Gray's adult novels. Her Master and Apprentice is flawless. Her other novel, Bloodline, flawless novel. Her young adult, it's hit or miss for me, but her adult stuff has been great, and I still think this is a good, I would even venture to say very good, adult novel, but it isn't flawless in the way that her other books are, and that was really disappointing to me. And so, as a result, my review may sound really negative at the moment. It's still a highly enjoyable book. I totally recommend it, totally love it. I'm used to more from her, so that was a bit disappointing. But I would give this book an 8 out of 10. Still really well done, still highly enjoyable, but there were so many little things that I was just like, come on, you can do better, I know you can. So I give this book an 8 out of 10. If you've read any of the High Republic series, let me know your thoughts. Tell me which of the books is your favorite. Is this your favorite? I would love to hear someone talk about that. But leave your comments down in the comments section below. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.